Hey everybody, I'm going to take you around a couple of laps of LeMans, hopefully give you some tips on what to do and what not to do. Now I don't really have a braking marker for this corner, I just go by feel, but it's usually around this little area not too long before the tarmac goes a bit black up here. And I hope that as I record this you can see the steering inputs and brake and throttle and stuff like that. I do believe I have some pretty bad habits, so I don't necessarily try and emulate me, but do what works for you. So I progressively go down through the gears. I think I go into third gear around the apex of the first corner here, and then down into second for the chicane. And I pretty much am braking the whole way through to the chicane. It can be tempting to squirt the throttle on a little bit after this part, but I think it's best to just brake all the way down to second gear. I try and cut the corners a little bit. Be patient on the throttle through here because the car will want to step out on you. So as you can probably see, I'm just playing with the throttle. I've gone back into second for this corner. I find it helps me turn in, but I think on the next lap I tried in third, I'm not sure. You've got to be very gentle on the throttle on the exit there. I'm braking just past that light there, but I think you see on this lap that it's a bit of a mistake and I don't get to the apex like I'd want to, and I run a bit wide. These laps I'm trying to be conservative and avoiding the off-track penalties as much as I can. I think I touched the grass a little bit there. It sends me a bit wide. You've really got to be gentle on the throttle on the exit when you get a good exit from there, because the car will want to send you off into the barriers. When you're in a pack of cars and you're drafting down this straight, it's really important to remember that when you get up to the kink up here, that when you're doing 350 kilometers per hour and you're on the inside or even on the outside, side by side with someone, you will have to lift off and alter your line. I think it's always often best to go single file through the kink up here and get back into the slipstream of the car in front, and then make a move into the what I think is called the Mulsanne hairpin. Um, so yeah, make sure that you turn the wheel as little as possible through that corner. And the 200-meter board here, if you're on a draft and you're doing 350 plus k's an hour, you'll probably want to be braking here before the 200, but without a draft I find I can brake after the 200. And then I'm sort of aiming for this witch's hat here. I'm hopefully by then I've slowed the car down enough. This corner always makes you feel like you can go a bit faster through it and that you've taken off plenty of speed to make it through, but it's often not the case. So I get down to second gear and turn in past the cone. Important to not cut this corner too much because you'll get a cut on the entrance and a slowdown penalty. I try to just get on the car straightened up and get on the throttle as quick as I can. These corners, again, important to remember. If you're going side by side with someone, you may have to lift off because the bumps and the speed that you're doing can unsettle the car. So just remember that. Don't take them flat out when you're side by side with someone, especially that one there. Here, you want to brake at the 200 again. By yourself, you can typically brake a bit later, but I think it's safest to brake at the 200. I'm pretty much braking all the way down here again and waiting for the car to get straight before I go full throttle. Now, briefly up into third, and then just past that wall back there, I brake as hard as I can, and I'm aiming for the witch's hat on the left and trying to use as much road as I can. Back down into first gear, I go for this one. Not sure if it's good or not. Um, you can see in this situation I brake a little bit too late and the back end comes around, but I somehow managed to keep it all together and I don't lose too much time. So this is what you don't want to do. You don't want to brake this late. Some people's setups are maybe on light fuel, I don't know, but there's this road's bumpy, and same thing again if you're drafting and going side by side with someone, you do not want to go full throttle. You do have to lift. It's this part up here, this corner here, this lift through here with some setups. I take it flat in this setup, which I will share. So I usually brake in between the, I think that was 200 and this is 100, so probably 150. Once again, if you're in a draft, you're going faster, so brake earlier. A third gear for this one, and I'm just coasting through the corner a lot, trying to use the brake to turn, hugging this one here. It's really easy to drift out too wide and smash into the wall there. I was on the brakes a bit there. Same thing with these corners, just coasting through, using the throttle and brake to get the car turned. I just try and cut this corner as much as I can. It always understeers more than I think, so I turn in quite early for it and have to be really gentle on the throttle on the exit because it's these next few corners coming up. The car really wants to get away from you, even though you're in third gear and you think the car's straight, it still want to light up the rears. You can run quite a bit wide out here. I don't know how far wide. I'm not going to risk it. This one here, this left corner coming up, I lift on the apex because even though it feels like you can go through it full throttle with cutting the corner a bit, on the exit, it always wants to come around on you. I see a lot of people making mistakes here. I've done it in a race. You want to brake before this. Well, I'm braking before the pit lane opens up, and I go down to second gear. And try to cut the corners a little bit, aim for the little targets. But here, it can be tempting to do a short squirt on this short little straight, but I think it's really important to just continue braking, and because it's really slow chicane, and try and straight line it and cut the corners a little bit as well. As soon as the car straightens up, get back on the throttle. We'll go through another lap, which I think is of a similar pace. Okay, so I've hit the brakes a bit later for this lap, but I think I take the same strategy: fourth gear, third gear, at the apex, down to second gear, third, second. So I cut the corner way too much here. I don't get a cut track for it, so you can see here, you can almost have your wheel on the dirt here, but it unsettles the car, so it's not good. I'm not going quite 100% throttle through there because the car's trying to kill me. Now back into second again. Back end wants to come around, but that's good. It helps me turn in. Playing with the throttle here, it's really hard to judge when to get in the throttle. Braking before the light, I've learnt from the last time. Still don't really hit the apex. You want to cut that corner a bit more than that. On the exit, the car's squirming again at that speed and that RPM. Just another reminder, if you're drafting someone down this straight, you are going so much faster, and when you get up to the kink up here, you want to tuck in behind them, or if you are side by side, you have to lift off. You get heaps of understeer at that speed going through the kink up here, and you can't use obviously the whole track because there's a car side by side with you, so you don't want to just slide straight into them. So easy enough to go side by side through here, as long as both people know that they've got to adjust their lines. And maybe even lift a little bit. So I've hit the brakes just after the 200 here. Let's see if I can pull it up in time. Yep. Just another reminder again, these bumps are treacherous when you're in a draft, and when you're trying to go side by side and hold your line through there, it's not easy, so just be careful, give a lift through here as well. Just after the 200, hitting the brakes hard, trying to use a bit of the curb on the exit. Not really getting the turn in that I want here, but I do make it for the second part, which is nice. Braking early this time, cutting the corner, trying to straight line it, get the car straightened up, gentle on the throttle. Another reminder through here that you may need to lift if you're side by side through someone. These little bumps can really throw you into a wall, especially this one there. Brake a bit later than that time, closer to the 100, but I see a lot of cars spearing off into that corner. Playing with the throttle and the brakes, trying to get the car to turn. Trying to cut this corner, getting the throttle as soon as I can, but be gentle, because it will try to kill you. Again, I'm going to lift at the apex and get back on the throttle again, straighten it up, come hard on the brakes before the pit lane entrance, and then shape before your speed, cut the corner, get on the throttle as early as you can. There's a couple laps around LeMans